Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that's just as much about the terrifying fragility of the human body as it is about absolute, unyielding mental toughness. We've been looking at recent reporting across all the major sports outlets, mapping out the incredible rise, the absolutely devastating fall, and now the highly anticipated comeback of British tennis star Jack Draper. It is a wildly fascinating look into the psychological crucible of pro tennis, so let's get into it. Chapter 1: The Montreal Lifeline. Okay, let's dive into this with a staggering number, 143. That is exactly how many ranking spots Jack Draper plummeted in just over a year. Picture this. It's today, August 4th, 2026, and a 24-year-old Draper is stepping onto the hard courts in Montreal as a wild card. He's facing Terrence Etmon, and he's doing it just to keep his career alive. I mean, going from the absolute pinnacle of the sport down to a place where you literally have to beg for a wild card just to get into the building, that's a free fall that would shatter most athletes. But, to really understand what losing 143 spots feels like, we gotta remember what he actually had to lose. Which brings us to Chapter 2, a meteoric rise. So, let's flash back to the summer of 2024. The energy around this guy was absolutely electric. He was fast, he was fearless, and he had this lethal left-handed serve that was leaving some of the best returners in the world completely stranded. Think about these milestones for a second. Reaching the semis at the US Open, an insane quarterfinal run at Indian Wells, and pulling off the unthinkable by actually beating Novak Djokovic, right? These weren't just big wins. They were massive statement pieces. Pundits were crowning him Britain's new hope, and that momentum totally propelled him all the way to world number 4 by mid-2025. And this brilliantly illustrates the devastating delta here. It is just a jarring contrast. Just look at mid-2025. World number 4, seemingly invincible, the whole tennis world at his feet. And then August 2026, world number 147, hanging on by a thread, relying on a wildcard Montreal. How on earth does someone fall that far, that fast, completely out of the top 150? Well, the answer is unfortunately pretty brutal. Chapter 3: The Injury Nightmare. This is where the perfect storm really hits. The very body that carried him to the top just betrayed him. It started back in August 2025 at the US Open. He gets this highly complex bone bruise on his vital left serving arm, leading to an immediate withdrawal. Then he grinds his way back for a brief return in March 2026, only to completely mess up his knee at Barcelona in April. Boom, the entire clay court swing is wiped out. And then just when you think he might salvage this summer, that arm injury rears its ugly head again in June. It's devastating. So the crucial point is 5 tour events. Because his body kept breaking down, a guy who should have been out there lifting trophies every weekend was reduced to playing a mere 5 events over an 8-month stretch. He essentially vanished for 6 entire months of the ATP Tour. You just can't maintain a top-tier ranking, let alone any sense of momentum playing that little. And all this constant physical trauma, it led straight into the most heartbreaking moment of his entire career. June 29, 2026. We are exactly 24 hours away from him stepping onto center court to face American Taylor Fritz. And Draper has to pull out of Wimbledon. He was crushed. He literally called it the absolute worst moment of his past 12 months, saying, there is no greater honor for a British player than playing Wimbledon. And to make it even more poignant, fellow Brit Emma Raducanu had to withdraw with a stress fracture at the exact same time. It actually sparked this huge conversation, with Draper himself telling reporters that the sheer volume of injuries among top players right now is a pretty worrying trend. But crazily enough, hitting rock bottom brought about the most amazing turning point. Fast forward to May 2026, and the tennis world gets the shock of a lifetime. Sir Andy Murray, Draper's childhood hero, a guy who's been happily retired for 2 years, actively rejecting coaching offers left and right, even turning down Novak Djokovic because he just wanted to stay home with his family. But when Jack Draper called from the absolute depths of his injury nightmare, Murray said yes. Chapter 4: The Perfect Mentor. Now, what's really interesting here is why this specific partnership is such a massive game changer for Draper. Having Andy Murray on your team isn't just about tweaking a forehand. It is a vital psychological lifeline. When you're trapped in that dark wilderness of chronic injuries, you need a guide who knows the way out, and who better than Murray? His legendary career was defined by grueling injury battles. The guy survived multiple severe hip surgeries and fought his way back when literally everyone wrote him off. Draper knows this. He told Sky Sports News that having someone who has survived that exact physical and mental crucible is completely transformative. Murray understands the patience it takes, and he actually believes Draper can win at the highest level again. Chapter 5: Mission Top 100. So now, with Murray in his corner, the mission is set. Break back into the ATP Top 100. He dipped his toes back in at Eastbourne in June 2026, made the semis, but then the arm flared up again. But listen to how he handles it now. He says, it's not as simple as rest and heal up and you'll come back and you'll be fine. That is such a mature, incredibly grounded perspective. He's prioritizing real, deep healing over the quick dopamine hit of rushing back too soon. He's actively asking fans for patience, knowing this is a highly complex injury. He knows you have to make the agonizing choice to skip major tournaments today just so you have a body left to actually compete with tomorrow. Let's see how this builds to the ultimate goal for his season, returning to the US Open. But man, the reality check here is completely brutal. Let's look back to the 2024 US Open. Direct entry, the global spotlight, an incredible run to the semifinals. Now jump to 2026, ranked number 147. No direct entry. If he wants to see the main draw at Flushing Meadows, he has to grind it out in the grueling qualifying grounds starting August 30th. Talk about a complete reset. The stakes really couldn't be higher. And you know, this is exactly why this whole explainer, this entire journey, matters so much. It's a pure masterclass in athletic resilience. Draper isn't just trying to patch himself up and play again. He's promising to evolve. Despite dropping 143 places, despite missing his home Grand Slam, his self-belief is just unshakable. He actually promised his fans that when he gets out of this perfect storm, he's going to push on to where he wants to be and beyond. He sees this not as the end, but as the fire that will forge a much stronger version of himself. Which brings us to this final, lingering thought. The guy's got the raw talent for sure. He's got the ultimate mentor in Andy Murray, and he clearly has the perspective to handle the heavy psychological toll of being sidelined. Montreal is step 1. The US Open qualifiers are step 2. The climb back up the mountain is insanely steep, and let's face it, tennis takes no prisoners. So what do you think? Can Jack Draper survive the storm to reclaim his place at the absolute top? We're all going to be watching this incredible comeback unfold. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.